Okay, parents, a word of advice: don't let the powers that be raise your kids. Watch what they're teaching your kids. When you're watching a news program or reading a news article, watch for buzzwords like toxic masculinity, patriarchy, gender. Be very careful of these words. Hey, comic fans, this is Mars J Ultra, and welcome to Comics Forevermore. And title of this video, I'm pretty much gonna get into it. I was, browsing Google the other day, and I came up on an article. It's I had to laugh. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. It's from the Sydney Morning Herald, and it's by Nick Bohandy. It's titled "Helping Boys Foster the Positive Masculinity Within." Now, wow, what a title, huh? Yeah, it's pretty funny. Before I get started, I just want to say, a man can't be taught to be a real man by someone who they can't relate to. It just won't happen. It can't happen. You won't learn everything you need to learn. Either that or that person has an agenda, or they have ulterior motive. A male feminist cannot teach a man how to be a man. A woman cannot teach a man how to be a man. If they try to, it's either they have an ulterior motive or they have an agenda. Something that you need to look out for. Now, this Nick Bohandy, he looks like a male feminist. Let me get into the article. It's an Australian newspaper, so it has some politicians in there. So I don't really know these people, but I'm going to read it and get into some points of the article that's kind of struck me as being cringy. Before Tony Abbott was the opposition leader assailed by Prime Minister Julian Gillard in her famous misogyny speech, he received a Jesuit education at St. Ignace College, Riverview on Sydney's Lower North Shore. Now, another Jesuit organization is contributing to the gender discussion in a different direction. Plan International, a charity that advocates for the rights of women and girls, of course, has collaborated with equality organization Promundo and Jesuit Social Services to unveil a new set of tips to help raise boys and men with a positive sense of masculinity. Sounds like propaganda to me. The tips emphasize practical steps like finding positive role models of both genders, being clear about consent and encouraging boys to be open about their emotions by talking to them about their feelings. Yeah, sounds like you're trying to persuade these boys into something else. Matt Tyler, executive director of the Men's Project with the Jesuit Social Services, says the tips were driven by research conducted by the organization that showed the devastating consequences men suffered when they felt compelled to fit in a narrow definition of masculinity. I bet the individuals who did the research were all women. How much you want to bet? Okay, now it says men who conform stereotypical ideas of what it means to be a man, acting tough, being the breadwinner, asserting control in their relationships, they are 20 times more likely to sexually harass a woman, more than twice as likely to experience suicidal thoughts, and 6 more times likely to use violence, Mr. Tyler says. Is that right? So you're saying Acting tough, meaning being a man, being the breadwinner, asserting control in your relationship. You're saying being the father figure in the house or the figurehead in the house, you're 20 times more likely to sexually harass a woman, more than twice as likely to experience suicidal thoughts, and 6 times more likely to use violence. That is utter bullshit. Because speaking from experience, regardless of the crap that I went through in my life trying to get where I am now, acting tough, meaning being a man, I am not more prone to be violent, and I don't harass women. I don't sexually harass women. So me being the breadwinner, the head of the household, I am 20 times more likely to sexually harass a woman, more than twice as likely to experience suicidal thoughts. If I'm having that, I either read my Bible or I speak to someone that I trust about what's going on with me. Everybody goes through that. Men, women, everybody goes through having suicidal thoughts. It's just how you deal with it. That's what matters. I'm 6 times more likely to use violence? Are you serious? I try every day, to control my anger, and everybody does that. Men, women, as you grow through life, you will learn how to do that. That's normal. Oh boy. Let's continue. Diego Garcia Miranda, who volunteers, and might I add, this Diego Garcia Miranda, he's a young man. He was raised by a single mother. It shows his picture here, and he looks kind of effeminate. He doesn't look like he was raised by a man. Oh boy. Let's continue. Oh man. I'm telling you, this agenda they have, man, it's getting worse and worse. I'm sorry for Europe, because Europe is definitely feeling it. Diego Garcia Miranda, who volunteers in Plan's youth program, meaning he's being brainwashed, said that he joined the organization because he had become disturbed by the behavior that he saw around him. People suffering body image issues, which it looks like Diego does suffer from it. Women receiving unsolicited sexual images. Boys and girls held to different standards by their family. They're boys and girls. They're going to be held to different standards. You want them to be equal? They're not equal. Oh, man. He says he saw people suffering from body image issues. I'm sure he's been bullied and he was picked on because he doesn't look like, much of anything here. He joined the organization, this Plant Youth program, so they could brainwash him, with their own agenda. I'll continue with what Diego is saying. It's called a patriarchy for a reason. It supports men more than women. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. Women in 2019 have more rights than men do. They get paid more in certain jobs. So that's a bullshit statement. But this support isn't productive either. You know what? Without men, this society wouldn't be what it is. So I don't know what they're talking about. Women didn't just started voting the other day. It's been a long... Let's continue. The idea men have to be strong might lead to violence rather than strength. Oh boy. The propaganda is strong on this one. The idea men have to be in charge of their emotions and logic often leads to men who can't empathize with others. the idea men have to be in charge of their emotions. So they're pretty much trying to control men's emotion and logical thinking. They're trying to control those aspects of a man so that they can transform or brainwash men into thinking like a woman, basically. That realization, he said, left him feeling powerless. Of course, he doesn't look like much. I'm sure he didn't have a role model. Oh boy, this Diego, he needs a man in his life to show him the right way. He's surrounded by nothing but women. He doesn't have any kind of male upbringing. What can I do as an individual? Often the answer is nothing, and that's terrifying, says Diego Garcia Miranda. Tyler says those in education, the justice system, community groups, and businesses that the Men's Project works with were crying out for people to help men and boys manage their views of masculinity. No, they weren't. This is just women going around pushing these agendas, pushing these businesses to get involved in these programs where they can control men. Continue. It's also really important that when there are programs targeting a decrease in violence or mental health or a decrease in substance abuse, there is an acknowledgement by government of the role that traditional masculinity plays in driving those behaviors. Oh boy, the propaganda is strong with this one. I think in that regard, people who are on the front line, particularly, we hear a lot from teachers about the need to engage with young boys. They see it in every day. In that regard, our government has some catching up to do. To help drive the long, slow process of societal cultural change, Plan International Chief Executive Suzanne Langella, of course, got to be a woman, says offering advice to parents was a natural point to interview. Of course, you want to catch kids when they're young and easy to brainwash with your nasty propaganda. We know that this idea of gender stereotype start at a very young age, and in fact, in the Instagram age, they start with a gender reveal party before you're even born. So you never really get a chance to just be a person. No, because you're screwing with people at young age. Oh man. But that does not mean the tips are prescriptive. Both Tyler and Langella emphasize that parents want to do the best for their kids and ought to apply the tips that they feel are appropriate to raise happy and self-respecting children. You want them parents to push propaganda. You're getting involved in the mother-father ability to raise their child. It's a generational dialogue about different ways that we can support and parent our boys to tap into their feelings and emotions to manage them as they grow older. So you want to catch them while they're young and brainwash them. That's pretty much what this is saying. It's teaching people to follow propaganda and raise their kids in a toxic environment using this propaganda. That's what it's doing. Women don't understand, whether it's feminists or just women following along feminist agenda. They don't understand. If they train boys to be like this effeminate whatever, people will still stop having babies. Maybe not right now, but it will eventually happen. And society will suffer for it. You know, they're not looking at the long-term effects of this. Another thing, you can't trust these castrated male feminists. These journalists who call themselves journalists. You should see this guy, Nick Bohandy. He looks very effeminate. You can't trust these male feminists. You know, they're pretty much castrated by society, forced into writing articles like these for an agenda's purpose. I think these male feminists, they're just claiming to be defenders of women so that they themselves can get the woman. Don't trust them. Don't trust them. When it comes down to it, they'll sell each other out, in a heartbeat, which is what this guy is doing right now. Imagine if war broke out right now and you have your group of rebels, you're fighting for freedom and the right to live. My suggestion to you is I suggest you go through your band of rebels and pick out the male feminists and get rid of them. Get rid of them because you can't trust them. They'll sell you out and betray you. You can't trust them. They'll crack easily under pressure. Get rid of them. They'll rat you out. Just like this Nick Bohandy is doing right now. But ladies and gentlemen, it takes two parents, a man and a woman, to raise a man and a woman, or boys and girls. It takes two parents to raise boys and girls up to be men and women. Do not let a woman, gentlemen, do not let a woman teach you how to be a man. It cannot happen. Do not let a male feminist teach you how to be a man. It cannot happen. We do not need a society of all women or effeminate men. The society will not survive into the future. We do not need that. We need men to be men. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Yeah, there are some men out there that act out in society. Those are the ones you need to curtail and say, hey, look, you need to be educated on treating people the right way. Those people, yes, you will go after those people and get them, sit them down and teach them the right way. But this propaganda that they're spreading, this is not the way. People, you need to reject this. Oh man, it's just pure cringe. Just pure cringe. We need to talk about this. We need to be parents to our boys and girls. Raise them right. But it's not this way, of course. But, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, spread it on social media. Let me know what you think about the channel. I slowly growing. When I have time, I make videos. So just check me out. Come back for another great video. Check out my Twitter at Comics Forever M1, at Comics Forever M1 on Twitter. I have a lot of stuff on there. We start a discussion. Discuss about this video or any other my other videos. Go back in my history and check out my other videos. I'm sure you will enjoy them. So just spread the word. Be back for another video. And remember, only you can save comics. Thank you. Peace.